Good evening and welcome to Wrestling Rewind. I am your host, Angel Amoroso, and I am joined by my co-host, the Iron Man, Tommy Cairo. Tommy?
What's up, Angel?
And this evening we have a special guest. Tommy, would you like to introduce our special guest?
Yes, this also bald-headed young man. We could put our heads together and make an ass out of ourselves. Anyway, I know Duke probably, I don't know, since the mid-'80s, I guess, right? I broke in '86. What year did you break in?
Well, let's start the interview off right away.
We're doing it.
As from the very beginning, Duke, if you can give us your history, who you were influenced by in wrestling, who you were trained by, what promotions did you work for, any championships you gained, maybe, give us everything right up until the end of your wrestling career, if you could, and just pretend like we're not here. Talk and let us know everything about Duke.
Well, all I could say is if you weren't there, I wouldn't be elaborating. Okay. Okay. No, I was an avid wrestling fan as a young boy. I wrestled in high school. My senior year, I got a first place trophy in the light heavyweight division. Graduated high school, went to work, got married, had 3 kids at a very early age. And then accidentally, I found out that I could make myself some pretty good side money back at that time in the ring, being that I had a wrestling background and I always kept myself in good shape. My original trainer was not an official trainer, but he was a name. He wrestled under the name of Plowboy. He was a professional strongman. He was the heavyweight freestyle wrestling champion in the Navy. And
Frazier?
He was. Pardon?
I think it was Frazier, no?
No. My original was Plowboy. His real name was, he used the name Chuck Berger once.
Oh.
His actual name was Harold Trachtenberg. But nevertheless.
What year was it, Duke?
That was 1974.
Okay. What school was this in? Where were you located at the time?
At the time, I was living in Brooklyn, New York, which I still am. I'm still a resident there. I just recently bought a house in Marine Park, and of course, expenses were pretty high. And he talked me into letting him train me for the ring. And normally, at that time, you didn't get a match. Nobody would book you unless you had at least 6 months of training in. He got me work after 3 months of training. And he really knew how to train a guy to be tough. And he always used to tell me, if you can't take the beatings from me that I'm going to give you, you're not going to be able to take the beatings that you get in the ring from the other wrestlers. And he taught me all the basic ins and outs. After a period of time, I hooked up with another gentleman, Mr. Tito Torres. May he rest in peace. Tito was not only a very good wrestler, but he was an exceptional teacher. He was a very patient man. He enjoyed training his students. He was a true gentleman. And the one thing that I did like about him, even away from the ring, was that he knew how to communicate with troubled children. And that was a very important asset as far as I was concerned. Sure. Through him later, I met Bobby Bold Eagle.
Yes.
And Bobby was a worker. That man, let me tell you something, that man was incredible. Every country he went to and where he traveled was quite a lot. He learned the styles. And memorized them and taught that to his students. I became a New York City corrections officer in 1979, and I had to drop out of wrestling. But I got re-involved in 1987. And at that time, Bobby retrained me and trained me better than I had ever been previously. I wrestled straight up until 2001 when the business became a sideshow. And I decided that it's no longer a place for a serious-minded, trained, ring grappler.
Who were you working for in between that time? What promotions, were you working for, in what territory area?
Okay, I was working at the time when I came back in '87. I started to work for All American Wrestling, which was Tito Torres's federation. It wasn't a big federation; they didn't promote tremendous shows, but there was a strong fraternity there. The boys had a brotherhood; it was a family, and Tito Tito took care of the boys as best as he possibly could. He wasn't a rich man; he didn't make a lot of money, but he did the very best he could, and his heart was in it, and that was very important to me. There was nothing deceptive about him. He always spoke the truth, even if it was a hard thing to swallow. He would always tell you what was truly on his mind, and that to me was a very good thing.
Refreshing to have some honesty in the business.
Yes, well, modesty in the business today is almost impossible to find, and that's another reason why I left.
Right.
It's not a simple question of your pride. You don't get involved because you want to be a hero. You get involved because, for one thing, you're involved because it's a business and it entails money. For another thing, there was a fraternity there. Everybody looked out for one another. If I had a problem, somebody would, one or more of the fellows would come to me and ask if there was anything they can do. If a fellow just recently became a new father or something like that, everybody took up a big collection for him and all things of that nature. That's the way it was.
Nice family.
Everyone looked out for one another. Today, it's every man for himself. So it simply is not the place for me.
How many spots can I get in? How many spots can I get in? That's it.
Yeah. See, from All American Wrestling, I went to Tommy D's UWA, and I did some work for him. With that federation, I worked from 1990 to about 1994. Tommy promoted some very good shows, but Tommy was definitely, in my opinion, not an honorable man as far as promoting was concerned. Many had been the night the fellows went home with an empty pocket. They got an excuse instead of a pay night. It was a very hard thing to deal with, and he was a very hard person to deal with. And I just simply, but I just had it over my head. I washed my hands, and that was it. I went to work for IWCCW, that was International World Class Championship Wrestling, that was promoted by the Savoldis. And although it wasn't as big as WWE, it was still big enough to cover quite a bit of the United States. They promoted some excellent shows, and I mean excellent shows. They had top talent, and it was televised, of course, which was another asset. And these, like I say, these men were truly businessmen who were very devoted to the business, and they were just as devoted to the boys. And some of them, well, remember Tom Farnini, boy, that guy could yell like a drill sergeant, but he had a heart of gold. He really did. So they were a lot of fun to work with.
Now, during these times, Duke, what was your persona and gimmick? Like, what did you do in the ring?
Well, in actuality, being from the old school, I didn't depend too much on gimmicks. The attire that I wore was just simply my wrestling boots, my trunks, nothing more. I didn't wear face makeup. I didn't wear costumes. I didn't yell all sorts of crazy nonsense in front of a camera. I used to go into that ring. I just simply went in that ring to take care of business and then grab my shower, get dressed, and go home. It was as simple as that. I was a brawler. I was a full contact brawler. And the boys always knew one thing. I was never in that ring for that tip-tap stuff. When you clout me, you better put everything you got into it because I'm going to wallop you just as hard. And that's the way we were trained back during the Bruno era. That's the only way I could work. See, Tommy, if I wanted to be an actor, I'd have gone to Hollywood. But I did not want to be an actor. I wanted to be a trained fighter. And needless to say, I feel that in my own way, I was a success.
Absolutely. You had a great presence. You looked like a wrestler. Everybody knew you were. And you took it seriously. And I'm from the same cloth. I would rather, hurt, maybe not just potato you a little, then miss, or have you sell a phantom punch. And when adrenaline gets going, I got to know you hit me, otherwise I might not even know to register it. We're not going to kill each other. We're not, it's not ballet. There's contact. It may not be a way to hurt somebody, but you get hurt, banged up along the way.
Mm-hmm.
I needed it. I couldn't work it. Like you said, I feel like I got cheated if I didn't, get a little beat up, or beat somebody up a little.
Well, look at it this way, Tommy. All I can say about that, about this particular instance is that you and I got paid for doing something in a ring that we would have gotten arrested for if we did it in a street corner.
Absolutely, that's true. And all I know is I would walk into when Frankie Goodman and a couple other people that Luke booked for, cousin Luke, and I'd walk in and he said, it's the usual. I want you guys to move a little furniture. Don't be afraid, be careful. And you want me to be a furniture mover? I'm good. I'll be out of the ring in 2 minutes and we'll stay outside. Right, Angel? That's all we did.
Absolutely.
Angel and her guys, Harley Lewis and Domino, opposed me as a threesome. I was only wrestling one, but it was a great thing. And, we had prior history. So to continue that without the pressure of ECW was pretty nice, And we had a blast. I'd rather do that's a night off to me, I dragged Domino up to my mother in the corner of the bleachers and beat him in front of her and beat him down. And when I went to see her in the hallway, she's crying and laughing. I didn't raise you to be this way. I was like, great, I got you.
So as some of Tommy's favorite opponents were my team, what would you say, Duke, were some of your most notable opponents or your favorite opponents to work with?
Well, my very first favorite opponent was someone that I was a fan of back when I was a fan. That was Dick the Bulldog Brawler.
Oh yeah.
And I'll tell you something. That what I like. What really caught my interest about Brawler, Mr. Brawler. That's the only thing I'll call him. Is the fact that he was just about my height, and that did not stop him from actually being a crowd draw, a true prize winner, and everything that went along with it. He had the reputation of being the toughest man in the business back at that time, and chances are he was. Now, soon after that, we became very friendly. We became very good friends. And we spent the night. He worked in Brooklyn one night. Then he spent the night at my house. And we sat up all night long drinking coffee and talking about the business. Awesome. And this guy, who basically had a reputation, really had a legit reputation of being crazy, was a very wise and knowledgeable man, too. He always knew money. He knew the roots of getting it in the business. And nothing was more important to him than his 3 children.
Wow.
That was the most important driving force in his entire life, was his 3 children. And I always had the highest respect for him for that.
The one-man riot squad.
Yes, the one-man. Well, they referred to him as a one-man riot squad, Mr. Unpredictable. Yes. All these different things. I mean, the things they used to say, he answers doorbells and telephones no matter where he is, which may very well have been true. But then again, like I say, he was really wonderful company. He was a good-hearted man. He was a very good-hearted man. That was my favorite. That was my favorite worker. I got thrown out of the ring on my head by Dr. Jerry Graham. Back in 1975 in Lynn, Massachusetts at Manning Bowl, over the top rope. And like I say, I didn't break the fall. I went right down on my head. Fortunately, I had hair then. So that turned out to be a lot of fun. He was also a favorite when I was a youngster. As time went on, a lot of the good old pros either retired or left because of injuries, things of that nature. So the new set was coming in. Then we had a new fella who came into the business. He weighed about 245 pounds at the time, and they didn't give him very much hope, as as far as wrestling was concerned. He worked under the name of Fabulous Firehawk.
I remember
Billy Firehawk.
That's right.
Yes.
Yet he still made it to places that I didn't make it to.
Yeah.
So
ran his own promotion to Vegas and everything, from what I understand.
That's right. And like I said, and he was also very well liked. Now, Billy used to fool a lot of people, including myself. Mm-hmm. We had a match one night in the middle of July, and the hall that we wrestled in did not have air conditioning. Now, this man was 325 pounds, and he moved like lightning. Mm. This character, he moved around like lightning. The heat didn't seem to affect him at all, and his breathing was excellent.
It's tough to work in the heat.
Yes, it's almost impossible to work in the humidity because as you're inhaling, you're not only breathing in air, you're breathing water in too, and that water is going into your lungs. Yeah. So that's definitely going to choke you off. So, we had our problems.
But he was one of Bobby Bald Eagle's guys down at Lower East Side Gym in New York.
Yes, he was. Yes. He was one of the wrestlers that Bobby retrained.
Right.
And what Bobby installed in Billy Firehawk was something that is more important than physical conditioning. He gave him confidence.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with that. A lot of confidence. Billy already had confidence, but you get that extra push from somebody like Bobby, who has so much experience and just gives you that extra push and polishes you the way you need to.
You see, Bobby Bald Eagle, he had this talent not only how to train people physically or how to train them scientifically. Mm. He trained them psychologically and emotionally. And once again, these are the people that you no longer see in the business anymore. This is why when I quit, I didn't miss it, because the only thing I missed was the camaraderie that I had with the good workers. I had come out of retirement in 2010 because Gino Caruso was running a show very close to my community, and I was still able to help him along. He asked me if I'd come out for a more or less a retirement match or whatever. So of all people to match me with, he gives me a prison yard match with the Peacemaker, who was a 150% dead ringer for the Big Boss Man.
Oh,
really?
Yes. Nice. Same basic thing, as a corrections officer and things of that nature. Just as big, just as mean looking when you really come right down to it. I'm telling you, this guy had a face. If he looked at a glass of water, the water would have jumped out of the glass and run away. So he did have a very frightening appearance. But then again, he was also very gentlemanly. What happened was, all the fellas, this over here, this goes to show you where the schoolyard kid, the personality comes out of a grown man. And before I even showed up that night to work, the fellas in the locker room were telling him all sorts of stuff about me, how when they ring that bell, I go completely crazy. I lose all connection with reason. I just go wild. There had been times where they thought they'd have to get the riot squad to hold me back, things of that nature.
Great stuff.
And I barely even knew this poor fella, and they're shaking him up the way they're shaking him up. And I'm saying to myself, look, fun is fun. I got a sense of humor also. But guys, that just wasn't right. That was dead wrong, because now you're sending the guy into the ring already psyched out.
Yeah.
It's nice to pick people up a little bit sometimes just to see how they react, better for your personal entertainment. It's cute.
Well, this is true too. But nevertheless, we did have a very good match. We had an excellent match. The crowd was very pleased. And that's what's most important to our, let's say, our old school workers. Mm-hmm. So I just, I just played it along. What happened was, about 5 years later, some other fellow who was trying to get another federation started, Nightmare Mike Jordan, asked me if I would give him a hand. And So, needless to say, he's trying to do the right thing. He's trying to do things as they did years ago. And so I agreed to the match. And most unfortunately, let's say most unfortunately, and this was the icing on my cake as far as packing my bags was concerned, was that everything had gone from what it originally was to what it became that night. And that night, he matched me, of all things, with an MMA, I'll say an MMA fighter who was stoned out of his mind on drugs.
Really?
Oh, nice.
The match was terrible. We both looked terrible. Everything he did like he was in the octagon. He completely forgot about wrestling. I don't know how many spin kicks he caught me with in the face, but when I found out that this clown was playing for real, then I got serious too. And nevertheless, no matter what he did, I had to prove a point that night, a very serious point. I didn't care what he did, how he did it, where he landed those kicks. I wasn't going down.
That's
Good for you.
unbelievable.
I was not going down.
Sometimes promoters do things and book people, and it's like they don't look into the future while they're trying to do this. And especially now, like they'll just throw anyone on. It seems like, especially sellers.
That's my whole case in point. Now, for all purposes, when he saw how stoned this character was, he should not have let him work.
No.
The commission doctor should have canceled him, and me, using less common sense than usual, should have come right out and said, "Hey, get somebody else. I am not working with this drug abuser."
Now, was this in what, New Jersey or New York, or
This was in New York. This was in Long Beach.
Okay.
And nevertheless, like I said, the match was 100% disastrous when you really come right down to it. And I told the promoter afterwards, I said, if you're curious to know as to why I took the position I took, and I didn't kick him in his bad knee already and put him in the hospital or possibly put him in a wheelchair because I know he's being treated for a knee injury, it's because you would have had to pick up the tab for it as a promoter, because chances are there would have been legal action. For another thing, I wasn't about to exert myself and break this clown's neck for $60. And for another thing, the reason as to why I stood there and let him kick me in the face the way he did, because I wanted to let him know this is how a 65-year-old old school Bruno era wrestler can take it and take it well. It's as simple as that. Said I told the promoter afterwards, I wouldn't go down if he hit me with a bazooka shell. It's as simple as that. Yeah. And the only reason as to why he's still able to walk around is because it was to save your neck. So I wish you a lot of luck with your federation in the future.
Wow.
That's very professional of you. I can't say that I would have done the same. I probably would have went off on someone. And Tommy, you probably would have went off on someone too if that would happen to you. So real professional of you to behave in that manner. So that was your last show?
That was my very last. When you really come right down to it. See, this is what the business has become. They're using a bunch of a bunch of wannabes and a bunch of never will be's and a bunch of virtual derelicts, and they're throwing them in that ring. And this is what it's all coming right down to. And I have no use or respect for the modern business today because of it.
Now, let me ask you, you began strength training and probably boxing, wrestling, mixed martial arts at the age of 14. Is this correct?
Yes, it is. I started, let me go back a little bit further. I took a tremendous interest in self-defense training, physical conditioning and things of that nature because I was often physically beaten and abused at home by my, by my parents. Okay. I was a beaten child, and figured the only way to actually get past something like this is to learn how to defend myself and make my body so tough that I wouldn't feel pain. And I did succeed. Yes, I succeeded. At age 14, I got into martial arts. I was studying Korean-style karate. I should have stuck with it, but
Mm.
then later on, I got into Golden Gloves, and my idol, my childhood idol as a boxer was Sonny Liston,
Oh
because
wow.
Sonny can knock a guy out. Could have knocked a guy out with either hand,
Mm.
Yeah.
you know. And this guy was tough, and I idolized him as a young kid. So that inspired me. And even now, presently, to this very time we speak, I had just gotten out of the gym just a little while ago. I was in there pumping iron for about a half hour. No, a half hour, about an hour and a half actually. Then I hit the heavy bag a little, and I still train as often as I can over the course of the week, in addition to working and being a full time husband. And with all this, I'm going to be 72 this year.
Oh
Okay.
wow! You don't look. You don't look anywhere near the 70s.
I'm
Even
64 and I thought I was going to die a couple of weeks ago. So.
Wow.
Well, I don't intend.
Fantastic.
I don't intend to leave this earth for a very long time yet, because
Yeah.
I've got a lot to accomplish. I've got a lot to live for. My wife and I are celebrating our 10th wedding anniversary this
Wow, good
year,
for you.
and we're going to
Congratulations.
and we're going to commemorate it by renewing our vows in church.
Oh, beautiful.
Nice.
I'm going to be a grandfather again
Oh,
for the
nice.
Wow.
for the 17th time.
Oh,
What?
wow. Boys and girls mixture? Or
Yes.
Oh, nice. Very nice. How many children do you
17.
have?
Okay. Collectively, my wife and I have 7 children.
Oh,
When I married her back in 2012, I inherited 4 more grown sons
nice.
and their families, of course.
Nice.
And it's nice to have these fellows calling me dad and things of that nature.
It's nice to
And
collect your little army.
Yeah.
well, I'll put it to you this way. It's like it's like a tribe of wild Indians sometimes,
I bet.
and that sometimes could be a lot of fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can.
That can be an awful lot of fun. See, my wife and I, we met back in 2001 when she hired me as a bodyguard.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Yeah, she was in the entertainment field. She had done some acting. She had done some dancing.
Mhm.
She and her sisters were backup singers for Stevie Wonder.
Oh, nice.
And unfortunately, she was involved in a very abusive marriage with some creep that used to beat the life out of her and the kids almost on a daily basis.
Oh,
So at one point, she finally got fed up and disgusted and had it over her head. And this time, when she wound up in the hospital, she told the doctors that her husband beat her. So now he was arrested. They placed him under arrest, and he threatened her life in the courtroom. Told her, "So the day I get out of jail is the day I kill you."
Oh, wow.
Well, she got word that he was back out on the street, and then she decided that the order of protection basically is only a sheet of paper and it does nothing, which of course it does nothing.
No.
She decided to hire personal protection, and to me it was just another job as a bodyguard, because I've been a bodyguard many times to many people, and I've done all sorts of unusual work since I retired from the department.
Any names that we would know of that you've been a bodyguard for, or just?
Well, I was a bodyguard for a Supreme Court judge in Jersey at one point in time. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't want his name mentioned.
Well, okay.
Then there were just a few other basic business people, I would say business owners, things of that nature, people who have had threats lodged against them, things of that nature. I was paid well. But to me, this was just another job as a bodyguard. And the only thing that was unusual about it is that my client is a woman. So I conducted myself in a professional manner straight up until 2012. She always used to go very far out of her way to be very nice, being very polite, regardless of circumstances. And still, as a professional man, I knew what side of the line I belonged on. So I just maintained that stance until 2012, August of 2012, when they diagnosed me with throat cancer.
Oh man.
And mind you, I'll have you know, I've done all sorts of work on all sorts of occasions. I even worked 7 years undercover, infiltrating white supremacist terrorist organizations.
That was actually one of my next questions. Is I didn't want to ask if you didn't want to talk about it, but I did want to get into a little bit of your background in Nazism, and just if you could just
Yes.
give a little bit of background about that, because I thought it was interesting.
Yes. As far as my background in Nazism is concerned, I took a personal interest in that at age 6 when I saw my first documentary film on Adolf Hitler. The film was called The Secret Life of Adolf Hitler, and it was informative, but I found out later on that a lot of information, needless to say, was incorrect. I read books. I saw documentaries. I've even seen movies, things of that nature. And what basically impressed me was the concept of being a conqueror. The concept of not so much him personally, but how someone can take a beaten, broken, bankrupt, down and out country, and within 2 years made it so powerful that it threatened the world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now regardless, right or wrong, good or bad, sane or insane, anyone who could do a thing like that has really
Amazing leader. Yeah.
Exactly. And later on, finding out with all the things I've read, all the people that I've spoken to, everyone that I've come to know, he was actually nominated Man of the Year by Time Magazine twice in 1937.
Wow.
Imagine that.
Exactly. Now, what many people didn't know that I found out was that he was suffering from two things. Petit mal, which established itself as violent sleepwalking fits,
Wow.
and third stage syphilis.
Wow.
Wow. That'll get you, right?
Which he developed in Vienna prior to World War I, when he was working as a male prostitute for rich widows that very few people are aware of.
Oh, yeah. I've never heard of that one.
A lot of people haven't heard of it, but
Yeah.
nevertheless, it is true. So it's just a matter of time before it burns out the brain cells. And in his case, well, we all know what happened. History speaks for itself.
Mm.
I was never a racist, nor was I ever in favor of anything like the Holocaust. But nonetheless, in 1997, I was still with the Department of Corrections, and that was when Timothy McVeigh set off that bomb in Oklahoma City. And the only thing that was burning through my mind back at that time was that if I was involved in any of these organizations or anything like that, and I got wind that this was his plan, I could have stopped it had I been there. Much the same with 9/11. And I lost some very, very close friends at the World Trade Center. Same thing. If I was involved in something like this and I got word, I could have stopped it, or at least tried. So finally, at this point in 2005, when my charge then, and not my wife, she was riding on a city bus and she was being harassed by several skinheads. She got hold of me about it, and well, I kept her company and calmed her down. But something else had occurred to me. If I can get a beat on these skinheads over here in New York, I just might find a way to put the spotlight on them and get rid of them. But what I did was instead, I joined a neo-Nazi organization for that purpose, to find out about activities like this in New York. After my first rally in South Carolina, I found that this uniformed force had nothing to do with skinheads, because skinheads were nothing but trouble. They drew too much negative attention to themselves, and they were just simply no good inside out, and they wanted nothing to do with them. But because of my background, because of my my training in law enforcement, due process of law, and all that went along with it, they decided they did not want me as a supporter. They wanted me in the uniformed ranks,
Oh,
and they moved me up that ladder unbelievably fast. Unbelievably fast.
how high up the ladder?
I when I resigned in 2012, I was commander in chief and captain of the SS division.
Wow.
Wow.
And what I had done while there and being in command, when I left at that time, these uniformed stormtroopers were working with law enforcement alongside of them and aiding them.
Wow.
And they were getting involved in rescue missions and things like that for the Red Cross and things of that nature. What I had done was I had taken something dangerous and made it into something useful.
Nice.
And see,
Awesome.
understand something, Angel. Tommy, I took an oath back in 1979. I raised my hand and I swore to uphold the law, to protect the innocent, to support the United States Constitution, right? I took that oath. I retired from that job in 1999. I did not retire from that oath, and I still conduct it today.
Wow.
Nice
So,
to hold true.
Yes.
Holding true. Nice.
So when I got, as I say, when I got involved with that organization, I said to myself, there's a lot of things that can happen here, but if you can take what you got here and make it into something useful, you just might have something that could be more of an enhancement to our people and our government and our country than anything else. And I'm happy to say that many of them were down at the Mexican border helping the deputy sheriffs and border patrol agents and things of that nature against Mexican drug cartels.
Nice. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Got to do something.
Yes, they definitely served, and they served very well. However, what had happened was in 2012, when I was diagnosed, a lot of things changed with me because now I was actually I was facing certain death.
Okay. Yes. Following this all this the Nazism stuff and everything, and now you're faced with this is lung cancer. You're saying
Throat cancer.
Throat cancer. You don't even sound like that was a possibility. You sound great, but how did you learn that you had throat cancer? What year was that, and how did you discover it?
That was August of 2012 when I went for a routine examination. My general practitioner was examining my throat, just feeling around with her fingers, and then she sent me to the endocrinologist in the same building. The endocrinologist examined my throat and sent me for an immediate ultrasound. And the ultrasound revealed that I've had an 8-centimeter tumor in my throat that I wasn't even aware of.
You weren't feeling any pain or like symptoms
Nothing.
or anything?
No restriction of movement, no discomfort, nothing at all. So after that, of course, next thing was biopsy. And they scheduled that pretty quickly. And nevertheless, they try to downplay things. Don't worry, 90% of the time it's benign. It wasn't benign because they got the immediate test, and the test said that thing was radiating with cancer. They said it's loaded with cancer cells. And we don't know what else has been affected. In a male body, this is extremely aggressive. In a person past 45, it's extremely aggressive. We don't know how long you've had this. We don't know how long. We don't know if it's metastasized. We don't know. But we do know this. You have to go for immediate surgery. You have to get it removed. And, they're telling me, and this thing might have been interfering with your larynx also, meaning that that's going to go too.
Wow.
Well, the only one that really gave me hope at the time was my wife, Catherine, who, of course, was only my charge then. And now the roles reversed. Now she was looking after me.
Mm.
And, she was trying to keep me in a good frame of mind. So she just kept insisting that I'm not going to die. God's not going to let you die. I said, when? Wait, let's not start bringing the Bible into this right now, because the only thing I'm looking at right now, I mean, if this is true, I'm looking at a long dark eternity, and I don't want to go through eternity the way I am. I said I've never broken the law. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't gamble. I never cheated on my wife when I was married to her, and I'm not your average everyday sinner. But then again, I haven't exactly been an A1 individual either. So she had me speak to her pastor, and he made a special trip into Brooklyn that night to talk to me. And he was the one guy that really made me feel that I had a chance, because he told me straight out. He says, "Listen, cancer is the most frightening word that there is, but cancer don't have the last word. Cancer has got the last say." He says, "You got to understand something. God has the last say, not cancer." And we went on talking about that, and of course, he asked me when am I scheduled for surgery. And they both the pastor and Catherine, were at the hospital with me that morning of surgery, and they operated. They were both waiting for me in recovery. They had to remove the tumor and my thyroid gland as well.
Wow.
So, nevertheless, the surgeon came out in a few minutes and says to me, he says, "Well, you'll be happy to know that we examined all of your lymph nodes. They're 100% perfect.
Oh.
You won't need chemotherapy, and you won't need radiation. Just give yourself time to heal."
Great.
And that was what that was when I took her hand in mine. I looked at her and I said, "You know something? Just as soon as I'm strong enough to get my pants on myself, I'm going to marry you."
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Well,
Cool.
well, I'll tell you something. See, this over here, honestly, I don't pull punches when I say that. I've always been a hard-headed Dutchman, and I've always said I'll believe it when I see it. When you come right down to it, that Sunday before surgery, the pastor had me come up before the congregation, and it was hands-on prayer. And I remember some words he used, and he said that, "Father, curse this tumor and make it shrivel." Okay, he was with me when they operated. The following week, I had to go for my follow-up, and the surgeon comes into the examining room. The wife's with me, and she says, I've got something very unusual to tell you. We can't explain this." I said, "Well, is it good news or it's bad news?" She says, "Oh, it's very good news." I said, "Well, what's going on here?" When we ran biopsy on that tumor was radiating with cancer cells. When they ran pathology on that tumor was dead benign tissue. We don't know what happened. We don't know what happened in between.
Wow.
Amazing. Exactly. Something happened in between. I'm saying to myself,
Yeah.
I'm sure hands-on prayer had something to do with it. So then this was the icing on the cake. I said to her, I said, "Well, listen, with my limited knowledge of being a laboratory technician or anything else in that, that field for that matter, couldn't they run a second biopsy?" And she says, "I was hoping you wouldn't ask me that." I said, "Why?" "Because no sooner did they run the first pathology, the thing just shriveled up."
Wow.
Well,
That's unreal.
Yeah.
So like mutant came out of nowhere and then shriveled up and went away.
Well, once again, he said, "Father, curse this tumor and make it shrivel."
Yeah. That's wild.
Awesome.
Now,
Great
as far as I'm concerned, that was enough to sell me when you come right down to it. And I'll tell you something.
Very divine stuff.
Yes. Well, on a more humorous note, on a very humorous note, the night after surgery, now you figure they just cut my throat open. They just removed my thyroid gland. They got me all hooked up to the IV and all that stuff. Now, I don't know exactly what was the cause, but I was feeling physically stronger by the minute. Wow. I mean, I almost felt good enough to walk into a gym. Now, everybody else that night in that ward was sleeping. I'm up doing deep knee bends and push-ups.
Oh, right after a
that's amazing.
surgery.
Exactly. Yeah. So of course, finally, I'm not. I am not cooperating with anybody in there, and that included the staff.
Yeah, I'm bad. I'm a
And
bad patient too.
they didn't decide to stop me until I found an extension cord that I was going to use as a skip rope.
Ah,
Oh boy.
So finally,
Anything you can find laying around.
the nurse comes in with the doctor, and the doctor says to me, he says, "Listen, Mr. Schneider, with all due respect, if you don't get in bed and go to sleep, we're going to have to sedate you." And he showed me a needle. So I looked at the needle and I said, "Well, doctor, if you're going to sedate me with something, it better be a veal parmesan hero or something like that.
Oh,
Because
nice.
whatever it is that you're going to use, you're going to wind up eating it." It's as simple as that.
Nice. So after your surgery was complete and no cancer, no treatment, anything like that after that you needed, and you're in your 70s now, looking as healthy as can be. You look like better than younger guys who've never had cancer or anything wrong with them.
Thank you so much.
Great. You sound great. So what was to follow your cancer recovery?
Well, that was about it. Just basically, see your doctor when you're supposed to, routine examinations, things of that nature, which of course I do.
Mm-hmm.
I never did have any bad habits. I spend a fortune on vitamins every month, the food
Great.
supplements, which I use. I haven't touched sugar in 17 years, and I won't.
Nice.
Sugar feeds cancer cells.
I believe that. Yeah.
So I found that out. My wife is an excellent cook, and she's very good to me. As a matter of fact, I might even add that we've married 10 years, as I said, and I'll be 72, and we're still honeymooning.
Oh, so nice. That's fantastic
awesome.
when things can work out so well, for everyone, especially the marriage is so hard.
The thing most surprising to me, even now, is the fact that I was never in the market for a biracial relationship.
Mm-hmm.
See, it just never occurred to me. It just didn't mean very much to me. Now, all of a sudden, I find myself in a position where, like Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston.
Yes.
In reality, because I was her bodyguard and she was an entertainer.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Somebody want to do a movie about
That's
it?
crazy.
Oh, and yes. Oh, my wife is right here. She just say hello for a second.
Okay.
Hi.
As you can see me, he's
Yeah, move into the picture.
okay. Well, half of me is in here.
Hello.
I have a big head.
Ah,
And big everything else.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
thanks for taking care of
Nice to see you. You see half of me. I'm leaning this way.
Thanks for taking care of Duke.
You're welcome.
Good
Because
job.
I hired him in her bodyguard because I was signing autographs at the Chiller Theater Convention in Jersey. And there was a stalker
Wow.
at the show following me.
Oh man.
You see half of my head.
You can't get a better guy to protect you, right?
No, he still protect me because he got a lot of fans still following us around.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
It's the gift.
I remember you.
Keeps on giving.
Sorry, Pharaoh.
Yeah, I remember him from the show.
Yeah. See, the thing of it is that I never considered it, and I hadn't considered it until that day.
I got a picture of you guys.
Yeah,
here.
that's my grandson.
That's one of them.
My grandson Noah.
Wow.
Beautiful. Gorgeous. I'm sorry. Go on. I just wanted to pop that picture up there because I thought it was gorgeous.
See, all in all, my two greatest sorrows about my marriage to Catherine, my two greatest heartaches, is that she and I didn't meet when we were children. I might have grown up much better. She told me that if her father had known that I was an abused child, he would have taken me in.
Wow.
And believe me, back at that time, if I had an opportunity to live with another family, it wouldn't have mattered to me who they were. If they were willing to take me in, I would have gone. And the other regret is the fact that because, obvious age, we can't have a child of our own.
Okay,
Well,
so
you have children and
got
grandchildren,
plenty
though,
of
which is a
grandchildren.
blessing. It's a
This is
blessing
true.
in itself. The grandchildren, especially that beautiful child that I just showed on the screen, has got to,
Mhm.
keep your spirits up.
Mhm.
You get
Yeah.
to share your grandchildren at your age. It's fantastic.
Oh, did you
Well,
tell her who's
well,
making a movie about
Okay, well, she's over here twisting my arm.
us?
Okay, she wants me to enlighten you about the fact that um, Hardy Justice, who did the production for Ray Donovan with Liev Schreiber,
Oh,
they have a regular movie in the works for us.
Oh,
wow.
very
Awesome.
Yeah,
nice.
Lee Schreiber came out here and bought dinner for us.
Oh, nice, nice.
Mhm.
When is this to be? Is it being worked on right now? Is
They're
there a
still working on it.
Well, what it is that they've just about completed the screenplay,
okay?
and they're going over that. I do know that Liev Schreiber is supposed to be the director.
Hmm.
He's going to direct this movie.
Could you give us
It,
a little bit of information about it? Like just a little bit, maybe we'll tease
well,
what it's about.
see what they're playing up. Okay, basically the angle that they're playing up over here is the fact that we have an unbelievably high-ranking neo-Nazi leader
Hmm.
who turns his back on the entire movement, just completely rejects the movement, so he could, after falling in love with a black woman, so he could marry her. So I remember telling the writer, I said, you know something, they did a movie similar to this way back in the late '70s with Christopher Reeve, and it was called Superman 2.
Good.
When he decided that in order to marry Lois Lane, he's got to become a normal human being and just completely forsake his superpowers. And here I am turning my back on a full-scale army to become Joe Citizen.
It's a good
Uh,
way of putting it.
exactly. So I could marry a black woman.
Mm.
So,
That's a
needless
story.
to say,
That's a
well,
fantastic story,
Yeah.
actually.
Definitely.
I read it.
it also covers some other factors too. Basically, like I said, some of the positive changes that I had made. Several locations. Well, let's see, Phoenix, Arizona. We had a march there, which also turned into a full-scale riot um, among the counter demonstrators, where the police had to pepper gas the counter demonstrators. That was one. Then there was a thing in Bordentown that went down with a group of counter demonstrators that attacked a bunch of our stormtroopers. And despite the fact that the counter demonstrators were fully armed with razor cutters, box cutters, bats, mace, things of that nature, the stormtroopers were barehanded and they still beat them.
Wow.
What year was
So,
that? Duke?
that was in back in 2011.
Oh, wow. All
Yeah,
right.
the video tape from the party called it the Battle of Bordentown,
Wow.
which is just what it actually turned out to be. But the main thing is that also I was involved with other organizations, and I found out in 2010 in Knoxville that there was a plot, not by the Nazis, there was a plot by another white power group to contaminate a black community section with some type of chemical waste that they were going to dump into the earth, which would cause cancer.
Wow.
And they'd asked me to come in on this plot with them. They didn't realize that they were speaking to Uncle Sam in person.
Mhm.
And when they decided, when they put it into play, the circle closed up and they all got caught.
Wow.
Great.
That's
Fantastic.
awesome.
Yeah,
So
good save there.
yeah, so that's just about it.
Fantastic. So yeah, this movie sounds like it's going to be a great one. Happy to hear that you guys got something on the horizon coming out to tell your story. Can't wait to see it. I'm going to look some of this stuff up. Actually,
Okay.
now that you've said it, I would love to get even more history. But
I read all about this. In
Yeah.
an article somewhere. I read it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they want to put it in the theater.
Yeah,
Oh,
this
wow.
is Great stuff. Great stuff.
Well,
Can't wait for it.
well,
But do you know the name, the title? Did they give it a title yet?
not yet.
Originally they were going to, they were going to call it Duke and the Countess, because my wife's, her show
Stage
business
name
name
was Countess Silk.
was Countess, Countess Silk, and of course.
Oh, what was your wife's background, if you don't mind me asking? What was your background in entertainment?
In entertainment, I was an actress.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Duchess.
Yeah, in horror movies.
Oh, nice.
You ever heard of the movie The Ghost of Angela Webb?
Oh, I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, and also Requiem for Vampire.
Okay. All
and
right.
also the Locksville Ghosts.
Nice.
Mhm.
So a long history in the entertainment field, and obviously it did something good. It got you guys hooked up together, and happily.
Look how happy he looks.
Yes,
Look
that's
how happy he
wonderful.
looks.
And now a
Yes.
story's being made about you, which is really exciting.
But you
And
see, when you see how would I say, where Tommy's input over here is concerned about Nazism. Basic history. I mean, I know where it all began, how it all began, and why it all began. You see, if you actually boil it right down to brass tacks, to its true, honest meaning, it's a combination of two words: National Socialism. National Socialism was developed back in 1918 after World War I. And the concept is that charity begins at home, meaning that national, we look after our own people first, and then we worry about everybody who's beyond our borders. Now, Hitler, in a speech, was very abrasive when he said, Europe and the rest of the world can perish in flames. What is that to us? Germany must live and prosper. It was very abusive, but he spoke right from the heart. And this is just a problem here. We here in the United States are worried far too much about a lot of other people elsewhere. And we have our own people who are starving.
Sure.
We have people in the big city, in the ghettos. They can't get jobs. They're flat broke. Crime is at a zenith, because all it does is create poverty, and poverty, of course, always leads to despair, and despair is going to lead to crime. Now, you take a program, a funny program, I grant you, like Good Times. Look at the reruns of Good Times with John Amos and Esther Roll and all that. I ask you this: what is so humorous? What is so funny about an American man who's educated, who's served his country faithfully in Korea, loves his children, loves his wife, works fanatically, and can't get his family out of the projects? What is so funny about that? And how whenever they're laying people off, he's always the first one to go. And why is this? Because he's black. Where's the fairness? Where's the humor? I don't see anything funny in that.
No, you're right.
All about exploitation, really, not about humor at all, because nothing's funny about it. Nothing was ever funny about it. But that's the way they showcase their people at the time. So yeah, nothing funny about it. You're right.
Mm-hmm. See, the concept is that either the problem has been ignored or it's been laughed on a little bit too long. And I got, I got a basic education in that when I started looking after Catherine, started protecting her, because she couldn't even get health benefits. She couldn't even get a prescription plan, and she was constantly having problems with either a landlord or something else along those lines. You know, she went to the shopping plaza one day to one of the optical stores to get a small bolt put in her, her glasses, a small screw, which is nothing. And they're telling her, well, it's going to cost, and you're going to have to wait for everybody. Well, fortunately, I was in the sporting goods store not very far away, and she asked me to go in there and talk to them about it. Now, okay, granted, I'm a Caucasian man. I walked in there with the glasses and said, I'd like a small bolt put in the, put in the arm over here, these glasses. said, how long am I going to have to wait? Oh, we'll do that for you right now. I said, thank you. What's it? How much is it going to set me back? He says, oh, this is on the house.
Because I was the only one there. There were no other customers.
Horrible.
And all I seriously base it on in this day and age is racism.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. What else could it be?
Well, what I didn't tell anybody was that I pulled my shirt off and I told them, you don't fix these things and don't do it on the house, and I'm going to rip this place to pieces. But, and if you believe
that's the way you have to handle things.
If you believe that one, I'll tell you another lie.
Sounds good though.
Right. Sometimes it actually works. No, I only had to get how would I say? I only had to get cynical on one occasion with my son. My oldest son, my youngest son rather, before he went into the Navy. He was working at some fast food place, and when he resigned, the owner there refused to pay him. So after a period of time, the kid comes home and he says to me, he says, Dad, would you please talk to this guy? So that evening I went to pay him a visit, and the place is full of customers, of course, and he comes to the counter, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at him. I got my kid sitting next to me, and I asked him, I said, I want to ask you a question, mister. How many cars do you figure we can fit in this diner over here you got? How many cars will fit in here? He says, I don't know. Why are you asking me a question like that? I said, very simple. Because if you don't pay my son what you owe him over here, tomorrow this place is going to be a parking lot.
Yeah,
Nice.
you got to take care of business. I did it with my daughter. The guy in that manager at Acme made her cry. She came home. I went down there. I called him out. I said, let me ask you a question. Don't you wish you had 30 of my daughter? Oh, yes, Mr. Cairo, absolutely. Oh, yes, Mr. Cairo? Why is my daughter coming home from this piece of crap job being run down by you? I said, I'm going to tell you something. If I ever have to come back here again, I'm going to take you outside and I'm going to beat you. Is that a threat? I said, what does it sound like to you, my friend? It's not a threat. It's going to happen. Now every time he sees me, he turns away, goes the other way. And it changed things because other people had complained prior, but it didn't go anywhere. So when they heard there was an incident in the store, well, who's that? That was Guy's father. Oh, she's great. Why did he have to come down here? Well, the manager again. Oh, really? Call him in here. And they straightened him out because that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And because maybe other people didn't take that course, nothing happened. I fixed
When you show up, then the whole story changes. Now he's going to treat people with respect because he don't want to run into a guy like you again.
Yeah.
You know.
But you see the humor in this. I mean, and I've said this many times, and it's true. From the days of working on Rikers Island to the present time with what I'm doing now, it seems like the only thing people ever hire me to do is scare people.
Right. Well, that's what you're good at. So why not use you for that?
Remember, many a time the female officers that I used to work with on the Rock, if one of them would have trouble getting their security back from a landlord, they always used to ask me to go and collect it for them.
Of course.
Nice.
And
Needless to say,
it's funny how people approach it too, because like you'll be hanging out, and you'll be talking, and ask you about wrestling and this and that. And then it gets quiet for a minute. And they go, and I already know what's coming. I got this situation. I said, give me the address. He's like, I said, I'll just go over here. I'm not going to do anything, but I'm here to collect the money. You won't see him again. You'll see me. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. And that's the end of it. When you carry yourself in a way that we're able to, people would rather say, you know what? I'll leave that guy alone. Let me go get this guy over here that looks like he's going to fall over. That's how I look now, but,
see,
you see that. I told you that story about on the phone with Johnny. So just the perception. If you think you're going to get your jaw jacked, most people run the other way. They don't want to be involved in that. So it works.
Yeah. We are so lucky to have gentlemen like this to step in and protect us. I'm sure your wife would agree that it's always nice to have protection around. And, if it wasn't for her needing the protection, you guys wouldn't be together right now. So bravo for that job. You mentioned you worked at Rikers Island. How long did you work there?
20 years.
Wow.
Okay,
Bravo.
I took the job at 79, retired in 99. 16 and a half of my 20 was in special operations. See,
Nice.
we were the guys that always got called in, for the, the emergency situations, riots, things of that nature.
Extractions.
So what it is that the, special operations with the correction department is like special forces with the military, and they train you in everything, chemical agents, barehanded combat, nightstick defense, ballistics, explosives, they run you through just about everything you can imagine. So needless to say, you got a full warehouse in 20 years by the time you retire, and you're just about qualified for almost anything.
Yeah.
And being a professional bodyguard was just a very small part of it. I found, although I must confess, I will definitely confess that on a very quiet scale, I found it very difficult to conceal my emotions when I was my wife's personal protection. So like I say, with me, it was a situation where I wasn't accustomed to people being nice to me. And I wasn't accustomed to people, I wasn't accustomed to people caring about me. And grant you, okay, I'm not going to tell lies when I say that I might be physically tough enough, even to this very day, to set my own broken nose back in place, which I had done. But internally, I'm a very non-confrontational person. I do not like to hurt anyone's feelings. I do not like to create unnecessary situations for people, even when they create it for themselves. And I've always been a card-carrying animal lover and a card-carrying child lover and things of that nature. And that's pretty much my my persona. It may not appear that way, when people look at me, but nevertheless, although I can take good care of myself, but still, I do have a conscience. I do have feelings. See, what's also funny, I mean, like I say, what's funny about many things is that when that situation broke in Bordentown, and my the commander of the organization wound up getting maced. I grabbed hold of him, I covered him, and I fought off any of the other attackers. And afterwards, we got him back to safety. He gives me this look, and he says to me, "You know something, Duke? There's an awful lot of violence in you."
There would have to be, I guess,
I was giving you the protection that I'm supposed to give you. I'm your bodyguard, remember?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, to this day, okay, he is presently way out of the organization. He's out there leading campaigns and doing speeches for racial equality and things of that nature. He's done a complete 360, and he's developing quite a name for himself as a peacemaker, which is something that I definitely respect him for. See, different people do different things for different reasons. Much of my reason for getting involved in Nazism wasn't because I was anti-Semitic, which I was not, because I endorsed the Holocaust, which I did not, which I was, looking to assault and threaten the innocent, which I never did. I can't stand seeing anybody ever getting picked on or anything of that nature. That was never my thing. But when I found an opportunity to actually take something that was negative and make it into something positive, I couldn't pass that up. And then finding out about some of the activities of some of the other people who were up to no good, I had to put a stop to that too. The sad thing is nobody today wants to get involved in anything.
Right. Well, I mean, in your time, you were the guy to step up, and this has just been fascinating. Hearing all of this, I'm so glad that there's a movie coming out so that more than just us sitting here can know this fascinating story. Tommy, do you have any more questions for Duke? I mean, I think we've gotten so.
Yeah. Well, Duke and I
Please.
talk now and again. I remember we had a long conversation on the very job that I'm now suing. I have a lawsuit with New Jersey Unemployment. I was talking to you when I was on that job. We talked about diabetes, all of that. You told me all of this. So I'm getting a refresher, but I'm hearing things I didn't know. But listen, it wasn't very hard to see that, like I feel about myself to a certain extent. He's not the average bear, okay? Different for all good reasons, and there are not many of us left. If you don't stand for something, you fall for everything, and that's what And here's the thing about having a code that you live by. It's like, I'm on the Atkins diet. Well, it's like a modified. You're not on the Atkins diet. If it's modified, it's not the Atkins diet. So, with us, we don't change. There's no worry that even a broken clock is right twice a day. I always say that. But if you stay where you are, you'll be right eventually. Because the guys that don't live like us are very easily swayed in different ways. Okay, we're not us. Because we know what we believe, and that's not going to change all of a sudden. Now something that happened to you with the whole, metamorphosis of things that, you didn't live by before, that's different. That's change. But internally, we are who we are. We got rules. We don't ask you, just don't poke the bear. You know what I mean? Leave us alone. Because it's inevitable that if you don't, we will be who we are. And nobody wants that. See, it's all good and everybody's nasty until they see that there's going to be some kind of physical confrontation. Then it all changes. Just like my family. They don't tell me a lot of stuff. But when it's something serious, they tell me. I heard my daughter crying that day when I went to see her boss. And I'm like, they wouldn't tell me. I said, listen, you're crying. I'm your father. You better tell me why you're crying. Oh, Dad, I don't want you to go over there. I'm like, I can't even think now. I'm like, waiting for her to tell me. And she said, well, the guy Phil at work. I'm like heading for the door already, And she's crying more because now she figures, well, number one, she's not going to have the job. And number two, she feels that, maybe she'll be embarrassed. But she was so upset. Finally, she goes, okay, Dad. And I was out the door and at Acme in about a minute and a half. So we're fine. Leave us alone. Don't be mean or nasty to anyone while we're there around. And you should be good. But when you start poking the bear, everybody's, what's that old saying? It's all fun and games until somebody gets their hand stuck in an industrial fan. Yeah, that's us. We're the industrial fan. We chew you up and spit you out, and we go about our business and wait for the next, violation to occur. That's really where we're at. We're constantly monitoring our perimeter.
Well, you see, Tommy, I can tell you this. You see, there are too many people that put on a show for other people to try to please other people. You can't do that. Right. See, this is why, honestly, I have very few friends, very few, because you ask me a question and I'm going to tell you the truth. It's as simple as that. I'm going to give you an answer. You walk up to me and you ask me, hey, Duke, how do you like my brand new punk rock haircut? I said, you want to know the truth? You look like you're going to be wearing a straitjacket with it. I said, what are you talking like that to me for? Well, you asked me a question and I gave you an answer. Another one once, I remember he gets himself some kind of a hair replacement. He says, hey, Duke, you like my hair replacement? I said, I was going to ask you why you're wearing a Davy Crockett hat.
People can't handle the truth. That's the problem. They can't handle the truth. Most people just can't handle the truth. They'd rather live in a fantasy world. But eventually the other shoe drops.
So happy that we could get a lot of the truth here tonight. And Duke, you have an amazing story of progress and growth, and definitely something for the younger generations to look towards, someone to idolize. You've overcome so much with the Nazism and your whole life change, cancer and all that. So I think when people get to listen to this story and finally get to see your movie when it comes out, maybe it'll be a great example for people to have changes in their lives, like you have progressed to a point where you could be a happy person with a great family and a great life, and just put all of your problems behind that you have overcome, and be a happy person like you seem to be.
I can't even get the smile off his face. Look at him.
I am a very happy person, honestly.
I also beat cancer.
You see, besides me beating throat cancer, my wife also came through a bout with breast cancer.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it was soon after we were married. Now, what happened was it wound up where she had to have a mastectomy of her left breast. However, the reconstructive surgery that they did, you can't tell that anything ever happened.
Wow.
That's great.
As a matter of fact, not only was this thing so natural in appearance, but she had said to me sometime later, at the risk of being a little risque here, she said to me, she says, "Careful how you touch it, because I have sensation there." So, are you kidding me? Really, they can do some very amazing things. And something of my most recent, my most recent accomplishment, after being treated for diabetes for 17 years, they had just taken me off medication.
Oh, fantastic. Wonderful.
Tommy work toward that.
is working towards that. So hopefully we'll get healthy. But for a man in your 70s, absolutely, I have to applaud you. After all this that you have been through, you look absolutely amazing. You sound amazing. You sound happy and just like a great guy. I'm sitting here, I'm captivated by your story. I think it's totally amazing. And it's going to be totally amazing to our viewers here on Wrestling Rewind.
Well, I have a lot of things planned. For one thing, I intend to develop a rapport with troubled teens today that are getting involved in these white supremacist groups and things of that nature, and do what I can to possibly, deter it. And you come right down to it, because I'm the man with I am the man with experience. If I had a drinking problem, I wouldn't want to speak to somebody who's who's into physical fitness. I want to talk to somebody who also had a drinking problem.
Right.
And,
exactly.
I need somebody with experience, and this is most cases, from what I've learned, a lot of these young kids, they simply haven't got anyone to talk to. Nobody listens to them.
Duke, do you have any links or social media outlets or anything before the promotion of your speaking and your groups and your support groups? Do you have anything out there that you would like to advertise?
You mean when I was involved with the movement, or at the present time?
Oh, well, at the present time, do you have anything to share with the fans that might want to get in touch with you?
Only my email address. That's about it.
Okay. Well, Facebook, you do have a Facebook that we can.
Yes, I have Facebook also. I'll talk to anybody. I'll definitely talk.
And you'll have future information on when the movie is coming out and when you'll be doing any kind of public speaking and whatnot, right?
Well, my wife and I laugh about it. She doesn't. I always tell her, I said, by the time they get this movie released, when they're running the credits, that they're going to say, "In memory of Duke Schneider," because I'm going to die from old age.
No. Let's hope not. We're looking forward to this now, especially after hearing this story. It's one of the things that I personally am looking forward to, and I know Tommy is going to look forward to it. And I know all of our fans, after hearing this, will look forward to it. So hopefully it'll come a lot sooner than later. Tommy, do you have anything to say in close?
Well, what's the last thing you said? Because Duke, what was the last thing that he said? Because I was on a comment and I just forgot.
We were talking about his social media outlets and the movie the release of the movie, the upcoming movie.
I must have got hit in the head too many times.
I think we all have.
No, I'm exhausted. I was running around all day. My back's killing me, so it's
Well, you look at
too
it this
close
way.
for me today, real quick.
So I got hit.
Duke, like I said, I remember I got such a kick out of you, and I appreciated we didn't know each other real well. And I said this to you before. He's in a hallway somewhere in Jersey City. And he's got his brass. Where's your brass nuts belt? Show us your belt.
Oh.
Yeah,
Belt?
still got it.
Oh,
Hey,
fantastic.
let me ask you a question.
Oh,
Did
we
Mike
keep
V
this-
make that belt? Did Mike Vartanian make that belt?
Hmm?
Did Mike Vartanian make that belt?
Yeah, yes, he did.
Nice.
Where is he?
That's a very good question. I haven't seen him since 2000.
What is that when Alex Rizzo died? Because that's when he disappeared.
I believe so. Because, he was working security at a nightclub in Manhattan at that time.
He always did, yeah.
Yes, and then all of a sudden he's gone.
I heard he can't leave the house, and it got worse year by year. When Alex was still alive, Alex could prompt him to get out of the house, and he would actually go work on Frankie Goodman's car. He was the filthy creep. He worked as a filthy creep, and I don't know what happened to him. I've asked around. I got a belt here that he made. He made all the ECW belts, and he made the UWF belt, which was the FU belt, because it said UWF and then UWF. They called it the belt. But I met Duke, and I don't know, I probably knew him already, but he had that belt on, and I just, was being silly, and I said, Duke, that belt's nice. I just might have to challenge you for it. And he said, it's going to be a pistol. I said, this guy's
But
great,
Tommy, had I known you back then, I would have made light of it. But
listen, I appreciate that you didn't. You were like in character, and that's great. I was the one that was being silly, but I appreciated it. It was so cool. I was like,
it's a great belt. Kind of looks like the old NWA television title.
It's a nice belt. Mike V was very talented. That kid, he was talented.
Mm-hmm.
He did this in an apartment.
Great. Yeah,
he did that in an apartment.
Great stuff.
Yeah,
awesome.
But I always liked friendly. We were always very friendly. I think we shared after we probably looked at it later on. We figured out we probably should have been a tag team or something.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah, we just could have beat the crap out of everybody, and that would have been it. Easy night.
Tag team champions.
Yes.
Well, as we close here, Duke, we've really enjoyed your story. I've learned a lot from it. Just fantastic, fascinating stuff.
Thank you so much.
And we hope that you will join us next week here on Wrestling Rewind, where we are here on YouTube every weekend, Sundays at 7 p.m. On Monte and the Pharaohs Network. So please join us back next Sunday. And until then, have a nice night and a nice life. Good night.
You guys do the same thing. God bless both of you.
God bless.
Care.